Oh, and looks like I'm live. All right. And this thing's working. Excellent. Good morning, David. Light rain, huh? We've got sun. It's cold, but it's sunny. So the cats are enjoying that. Let's see. I had a few things evaporate a little on me here. So I am just touching up the amount of water. Thin this out a little again. Well, this really got thick, so let's try a lot of water. There we go. Welcome, Go Forward Painting. Good to see you. I'm glad you could make it. All right. So on the palette here, I've got Abaddon Black, Mechanicus Standard Gray, Celestian Gray, Gray Cedar, Corax White, and White Star from Tooth and Coats. I'm going to put some more touches on my marine here I've been working on. That got very thick. Like, wow, that dried. Okay, almost dried. That got too dry. Ew. I'm just getting all my neutrals ready here so that I can darken and lighten colors as I need for the couple of things I'm going to work on today, which in addition to the Marine might be a little bit more of this guy here too, because I've really been meaning to get back to him. And he needs more work. He needs lots more work. I hope everyone had a good week. And if not, well, let's relax and forget about it for a while. There we go. Now, for anyone who's new, forgive me for not adding music. I prefer you all put on what you like to listen to in the background. Let's see if this helps a little as far as light goes. And we'll see. Maybe that makes too much shadow. And let's see. Here I have Pallid Witch Flesh. A little bit of Kislev flesh. And a little bit of Cadian flesh. I was working on that ogre, so the ogre got a lot of flesh to him. And then Bugman's Glow over here. And then some corn red. It seemed to separate a little bit there. A little Evil Sun Scarlet. Gonna do a little highlighting on that Marine. Now this is Mephiston Red. Oh, that's nice and thin. There's the Evil Sun Scarlet. All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Ascended Man. I appreciate that. Ooh, this got really chunky overnight. Thin it back down. There we go. Start working on this purity seal just a little bit. Still a little chunky there. There we go. Well, thank you, Ascended Man. I appreciate the subscription. I do not know, Strolling Subhuman, what color can make white. Wait, all colors make white. Isn't that right? Like blended together? Isn't that what it is? It's been a long time. I took art classes long ago, but let's see. I want to make sure. I get the back of that. Do I also like to eat paint? No, but I do lick my brushes on a regular basis. And I suppose I probably ingest plenty of paint doing that. Oh, all colors make black. That's it. I knew it was one of the two. Like I said, been a long time. There we go. Hello, Penelope Rodriguez. I'm glad you could join me. Alright, gonna let that dry and put some contrasts on top. In the meantime, add some shadows to the gold emblem here and a little volume to the metals here. Add some brown tones. So a little Agrax Earth shade. But I don't want it really dark, so I'm going to thin that down big time. Like 2 drops of Lamy and medium on it. So 2 parts to 1 part Lamy and medium and Agrex Earthshade. And there we go. This is all nice and thinned down. Ooh, I'm really shaky today. Oh well. I will just avoid doing lettering today or something. Or trying to tattoo Oberons. There we go. Let that soak in there and outline everything just a little bit. Hello, Brooklyn Bouncing Game. Good to see you. I'm glad you could join me. There we go. And let that stuff dry for a moment and work on his backpack. Need some metals for that. Let's see. All right, we got a little lead belcher here. And I don't know if it's just me, but when it comes to some of Citadel's colors, I'd rather paint with a brush using their airbrush paints because they are thinner and I think just a better paint. I mean, yeah, you can thin down your lead belchers so that it is as thin as their airbrush paints, but their airbrush paints are really nice right out of the bottle for brush. At least I think so. Trying to be careful here so that I don't get too much of this onto the black. Take a couple of deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Steady out your hands. Brace on a few things. And even if your nerves are firing funny, you can kind of steady your hands out a bit. A little bit of a cramp there. Might sound silly, but sometimes when I'm painting, I try to imagine what it would be like to be the subject of my painting. What would it be like to have weird cybernetics that give you amazing powers? What would it be like to have high-tech armor like this? Just in an effort to draw myself away from whatever it is I don't want to focus on, whether it's my shoulder or my nervous system. Oops. Forgive me if I bump the camera once in a while. Someday, I will have that out of the way. Some people ask whether you use optics or not. Personally, I think it's just a matter of how your eyes are. Some people have just got eyes like a hawk, and they can put pupils and everything into little tiny Space Marine and Imperial Guardsman eyeballs, and I need magnification. Rather heavy stuff at times. But that's okay. I've pretty much been used to having a set of optivisors on my head since I was a kid, so it's not really a new thing. I'll have to touch that up later. Alright, we'll let that side dry for a while. And this is Vulpus Pink, which is a contrast paint from Citadel. I just need a little dab of this. Looking more for that imperial purple kind of purity seal wax, so that it stands out. Ooh, it would also be nice to not have schmutz all over my brush there. What is this? That is a brush cleaning fail. That's what that is. Let's try this again. Let's see. When in doubt, lick your brush. Good morning, Dawn. It is wonderfully sunny, and the cats are just lounging in it, which is nice because I don't have one of them on my shoulder while I'm painting. Need a little more of that. There we go. That's a good start. So I don't start confusing myself with brown colors, I'm going to put this one in the cap from a water jug. This is Skeleton Horde contrast paint. Which goes pretty nice over grays or whites or bone colors. To give that nice little aged parchment look. And seeing as everything around it is black, you don't have to worry about being neat. You can just get it on there so that it covers nicely. Yeah, that added a little depth and color to that gold. Set it off against the red, nice. So I did this with Retributor armor, and I did this with Liberator gold, so that I got the two differences in yellows. So I had like that gold and that brass. Let's see here. Where did it go? There it is. Powdered Toast Man, how are you doing? Hey, thanks a lot. I like the red I got on this one. I think this is going to be the standard way I do all my red for my Exorcist army. All right, this is Dawnstone. Wow. And it's separated terribly. So that is not Dawnstone. That is all the pigment from Dawnstone. Let's shake this for a while longer, shall we? I guess I haven't used Dawnstone in a while. Okay. Oh, much better. Now that's Dawnstone. Okay. Oh, let's go smaller. I'm going to try and catch some of the highlights on his undersuit there with a little bit of gray. Ooh, 6 below. Yikes. We had 1 below with wind chill yesterday. I have not stepped outside to see what it is like this morning yet. There we go. A little light highlights catching off the ridges of that undersuit a little bit. Now, go around the figure, and find more instances of that undersuit, including his backside. Yeah, this is the one from the video I did yesterday. The bases are really fun and it's really easy. I mean, the most complicated thing I did was the little footy prints. But that wasn't even hard either. It was just a couple of smears of putty epoxy. I took a couple of Space Marine legs from other Marines and pressed them into the epoxy after I dipped them in water so they were nice and wet. Took a tool, kept it wet, pressed in the imprints so that the ink would run into them a little bit, so that it would look like it. In the end, when I'm done painting the figure, I'm going to take some of that Valhalla Blizzard and I'm going to go up and chink some snow up into the cracks of his feet there and press a little onto his boots so it's, stuck. Because who doesn't tread wet snow all over the place? have to admit, out of all the types of terrain that I've ever built anything, the ways I base things, I like doing winter stuff the best. I have constantly lived around snow and long winters. So most of my life, I would imagine, I've seen stuff covered in snow. Just kind of second nature to imagine what something would look like covered in snow. Which is why doing an urban snow-covered ruined battlefield is going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. I'm going to set that up and get a camera over the top of it eventually, and we'll do that on a couple of live streams as well. I'll focus into a chunk of the battlefield that I'm working on, and oh, look, cat hair. There's a shock. Hey, wait a minute. That's too long for the cat. Yeah, that's me. Oops. Okay, this one's the cat. I swear, all the beastmen I paint are part cat. Well, in a suit of Space Marine armor like this, those guys are probably pretty warm. That's all powered, and you can survive in a vacuum in this stuff. Imperial Guardsmen, though. Ooh, that's got to be cold. I would much rather be running around in powered armor than a flak jacket any day. Oh, let's start with this over here. Easier to get at. Okay. Getting here. And yes, sometimes I use my thumb as a palette. Oh, good morning, Robin. It is a beautiful winter wonderland here as well. It's a little cold, but the sun is out. And the cats have found large patches of it to lay in. Probably a large patch of sunlight to lay in with my wife in it, too. Because last I saw, they were playing Kit and Pile on the couch. Not that that lasts long. They tend to have sibling rivalries. All right. All right. I'm a little shaky from the gray, so let's do something easier for a moment. Let's take some pallid witch flesh. Take most of it off the brush. And then just kind of, not really dry brush, just kind of overbrush the top highlights. There we go. think another layer of the Vulpus pink will give that purplish color a little bit more depth. There we go. God, no, that's got to be cold. If you're not in direct sunlight, I imagine in the direct sunlight it's just burning hot. As interesting as space sounds, it sounds like a deadly place, I tell you what. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right. Start putting some metallics on that gun then. As far as the controversy many have over whether or not you drill your gun barrels, yes, I drill my gun barrels. I mean, you don't have to. I have painted the black circle Wow, that's crazy. All it would take would be a sheet of metal to keep the radiation off you. Good morning, honey bunny. I'm glad your internet came on and you were able to join us. How much snow do you guys have now? %. That's some good snowpack then. You're starting to develop. Hopefully you get everything you need. I gotta deep clean this brush. It's starting to splay apart on me when I use it. Oh, I guess the sunshine must not have kept the cat's attention for long. I hear kitties outside. Hello there, Adam Westish. Good morning. I'm glad you could make it. Sorry if I bumped the camera there. Okay, go a little smaller with the brush here. Bye, Dawn. You have a great day and have a good weekend. I'm glad you could make it. Do I use magnification? Oh, yes. I wear big, heavy optivisors. And not the weakest lenses they sell either. I've got a pretty strong plate in this one. But I also have one eye and a lot of macular degeneration. So I double up on the magnification when I can sometimes. But that's just to even read anymore. My glasses barely cut it. Let's see. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right. Oh, I am going to snap the cover onto this for a moment so that everything stays wet. And I'm going to stand up for a minute or two so that my hip does not lock up. Oh, because it's doing that. Have a great weekend, Robin. Okay. Much better. It's one of those things I have trouble with, keeping track of time. Before I know it, hours have passed and I haven't gotten up and walked around or done anything. And that is terrible for you. So I've got to make a point to try and get up on the hour here. Walk around the room a little bit. Just to get a little close up on this guy here. Well, there's a couple of various games that these miniatures are used with, Honey Bunny. You've got Warhammer, and in the Warhammer umbrella underneath that, you've got Warhammer 40,000, which is their futuristic game, and people battle each other with big armies of Space Marines or just common soldiers with laser rifles. It's all futuristic. They've also got a game called Age of Sigmar, which is more of a fantasy game. So you've got all kinds of zombies and elves and dwarves and knights in armor and dragons and things. The models for it are really cool, but I never really got into the game so much. They used to have Warhammer Fantasy Battle. That's coming back soon, and they're going to call that Warhammer Old World. And a lot of people are looking forward to that. There's also another game called Kill Team, which is Warhammer 40,000, but on a smaller scale. So instead of using hundreds and hundreds of soldiers on your tabletop, you're only using a squad of 5 to 10 each. And it's a much quicker game. It takes a smaller tabletop. A lot of people started playing that because a game of 40K can take quite a while if it's just a fun game. As far as a game board goes, there's a couple of boards that come with Kill Team, and they're like cardstock. They've got something printed on them, and they're about 3 feet by 2.5 feet. And you put your terrain pieces, little ruined buildings or walls for spaceships, things like that, as terrain and obstacles. It's a pretty fun game. Um, Chess-like moves. Yeah, there's strategy to it for certain. It's a pretty good time. I really have enjoyed what little exposure to Kill Team I've had. 40,000? I've played Warhammer 40K for... I got Rogue Trader back in 1987, and that was when I first started. You usually play against one other person, sometimes team against team, sometimes you know, 3 and 4 and 5-way battles, all different teams. I've seen that before. That took all day. When it comes to turns, it's kind of turned base. So it's going to be you roll to see who gets the initiative and who gets to start off. And then it's one person goes, the other person goes, one person goes, the other person goes. But when you move, you're moving, entire units of guys like this. It is a whole lot like playing Army Men. It's like playing Army Men with more structure to the rules, or even rules at all. Let's see, where were we? Smaller brush, that was it. Sometime soon, when I get a better camera and an overhead boom, I will have an entire banquet table set up where I am building a board for Warhammer 40K. And it is, it's two pieces. One of them is 4x3, the other one is 4x3. So you put them together and you got a nice 6 foot by 4 foot table. And the whole thing is going to be bombed out city covered in snow. Covered in snow, a lot like this. Just over the ruins of what has been bombed from orbit, sort of thing. I'm not sure if I have more fun painting the miniatures or making the terrain. It's a good time either way. Hey, Surfer Norm. Good to see you. All right, let's get some more metal on that weapon. This is the first time I've ever used metallics with my Artist Opus brushes. I normally do not do this. I hope nobody from Artist Opus comes to my door angry that I did this with their brushes. But dang, you guys make such good brushes. There we go. That's a little better. The terrain boards are a lot of fun to build. I did one years back for a game that was called Gorka Morka. Oh my god, that was a fun game. It was all orcs driving around in the desert, all Mad Max Fury Road style. In their scratch-built jalopies and big honking motorcycles, and oh my god, it was so much fun. but the big desert tabletop racetrack kind of thing that I had built for everybody to zoom around with their war trucks and snaz wagons. That was a good time. I am going to have to do that one again someday soon. It's been a long time since I played Gorka Morka. Unfortunately, I never owned the game. A friend did. So the game board we built was for him. But wow, it was a good time. Give that a little extra wash there. Because I do not want those metal particles stuck in this beautiful brush. Alright, well, I'm going to want to shade that metal soon when it dries. So I'm going to mix up something to shade it with here. Use a little black Templar. This is a contrast paint, so it's kind of thin and sticky. Peels away from the edges when it dries. Becomes a little transparent. I'm going to thin it out because I don't want to make dark metal. I want to make shaded metal. So I'm going to use 1 part of that and 3 parts of contrast medium just to make it a little runny. Just a drop of Lamian medium. There we go. As you see there, it turns into kind of this grayish stuff. And that is perfect. So the first place I'm going to put this, seeing as that's drying, is on my guy here. I'm looking to start shading the underside of his chainmail. So I'm going to take some of that and hit all the creases in the mail. And anything where there's something on top of the mail. Run a little bit of that shading into there. There we go. Just a little bit extra to differentiate that gray beard from that gray colored armor. There. And we got spots like this. There we go. That's quite a shadow there. All these voids here. I want to start laying that into to give it depth. There we go. There we go. It really is. These old figures, this one's from, I think it's from 1987. It's a Marauder miniature. And wow, they cast really good metal figures. The level of detail on these was just exquisite. The big cat, how you doing? Good morning. Oh, if only I got the big bucks, David. If only. or any bucks. All right, here we go. Yeah, this one is metal. I got a couple of these really groovy old ones I found in a bits box, and they were covered in paint. I mean, like 2 or 3 layers of really heavy paint. And I had to get out the stripper, and I tried rubbing alcohol, and that didn't work. And then Cthulhu in a Border Prince's chat room told me about Strip-X. So shout out to him for that, because Strip-X cleaned that sucker down to shiny metal again, and I was able to start back up and not lose any of those details. A lot of different game stores carry the figures. A lot of the old ones that aren't around anymore, you'll find on like eBay. And even some of the new stuff you'll find on eBay because, well, yeah, scalpers. There we go. Separating some of those details with the black line. Creating shadows on the metal armor underneath everything that touches it. These are acrylic based paints. I know a lot of people that use some oils. I have used some oils, but I don't use a lot of oils for miniatures. I use more oil paints when I'm making terrain. because there's some really cool weathering effects you can get with oil paints and mineral spirits. There's cool effects you can get on miniatures too, but I must say I have not messed with that much. And it is not my specialty. But I've seen some people do some really great work on miniatures with oil paints. There we go. Just following the contours of his body so that you can kind of see them even. They don't get lost in the chainmail. The cats often help me paint. I try to keep them out of here, but every once in a while I get ambushed. And I wind up going, whoa, and making a big line across something as a cat jumps on me. That has happened more than I can count. They will help you to do anything, those two. They just like to help. Oh, thank you, honey bunny. I'm having fun with that guy. He's been a lot of fun to paint. And I've got a whole squad of him to go to. So there's going to be lots more of him. Ooh. Oh, excuse me. Forgive the coughing. I need to get it cut out. There we go. Here's the rest of the Ogren bodyguard. He's the guy with the big boots I made. So that big ugly head will be on those big honking shoulders. Most of the futuristic ones here are from Warhammer 40,000. Oh my God, sorry. As far as the dwarf here, he's from an old fantasy game and would be appropriate for any tabletop fantasy game, or if you're just role playing and you want somebody to represent your dwarf, he'd be perfect for that sort of thing. I've got a new trick I want to try with the Ogren. I'm going to take and try to make a realistic lightning effect coming off of his maul by using the interior wire from twist ties off of a bag of bread. Just little pieces of it clipped and made to look like little lightning bolts and glued onto the right spots where it looks like the electricity is crackling and jumping off the club. It should be fun. I hope it works. Excuse me while I puff on my inhaler a little here. Oh. Much better. You know, I've been into both the fantasy and the future stuff. I really liked the futuristic games that Warhammer, the company, has come out with. Hello, Martha Salinas. I'm glad you could make it. Happy Saturday. Oh. All right, got that coughing fit out. So, of course, my nose has to start running. Someday, when I have a real microphone, I will have a button I can press so that you don't have to hear all that. Forgive me. All right. Shading. Yes, Martha, these are from a game called Warhammer 40,000. This guy is from a game that was called Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And Warhammer will be re-releasing soon as Warhammer the Old World. Though, you know, this dwarf here is appropriate for any gaming use, whether it's a role-playing game or a tabletop game. I think he's just a neat-looking dwarf. some of these characters are from video games. Not every Space Marine, but there are Space Marine video games, and in those games there were a couple of specific Space Marine characters, and Games Workshop has since made like Lieutenant Titus as a model, for example, who was a big character in the Space Marine video game. And they've made some pretty cool figures out of their video game stuff. I hope they do more of that, because they've really had some cool games lately. I have not played any of them, unfortunately. Much as I love the look of their games, I am not able to play the video games. Oh yes. I've been into Dungeons and Dragons since, I think I was 10. Yeah, I was 10 the first time we played. And wow. Ever since, never stopped. Had a regular group I got together with for many years. And then, life happens and we all go our separate ways. And then there was another gaming group that I hung out with, and then life happens and we all go our separate ways. But yeah, it's Dungeons and Dragons was the start. I make some things from scratch. I've never made a full miniature from scratch, but I do things where I build pieces of something out of epoxy or plastic, like on this dude here. I added big plastic pieces onto his boots, so he had those big Herman Munster Kiss 70s rock star platform boots. Oh yeah, every high school did have. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's still some crowd at just about every high school that's doing the role playing stuff. Eventually I want to try and sculpt my own figures. I've really been getting the hang of sculpting. It's difficult. Epoxy is not a very forgiving thing to work with. Here is something I sculpted, though. The horned skull on that shoulder pad. That's all epoxy that I built up onto the plastic and then primed and painted. But using the same techniques, I'm pretty sure I could build a whole miniature. Now, how long that would take me, I couldn't tell you. Magic the Gathering. Wow, that's one of those games I actually never got into. But wow, I saw a lot of people really get into that one. No, now it's wow. I hardly keep up with the video games. The last video game I played was Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And one day I woke up with a cut on the inside of my mouth on the floor with the video game on. And I had lost a big gap of time. And I couldn't tell you how long I had been laying there. And that was the last video game I played because I have a seizure disorder. And I found out video games aggravate it. Oh, fried banana sandwich. Ooh. That sounds pretty damn tasty, I think. Add a little water here because this is starting to set. And tap just a little bit more into some shadows. There we go. Yeah, I think that's added a lot of depth. There we go. Excellent. Hello, Lillian Malfoy. All right, we are 2 hours in, and I am starting to get a cramp in my hip from sitting too long. So I'm going to wrap this up for the day. And thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy people show up to paint with me. Please come back again. Share this if you enjoy it with all of your crafty friends. Like, subscribe, check me out on Patreon, and if you're able to, please help support my work. Have a great day, everyone, and a safe weekend. Bye-bye.